Alright, hello everyone. My name is Kian Hauk. Welcome to my uh, amateur metafy on how to play Dragapult EX, the pure version. This is for Logan Egan. He asked me to make a metafy, albeit as a joke, but I took him up on it anyway. Um, so I figured I'd kind of walk through the deck, address what some of the main goals are, some of the main lines for the deck, how we might play something like this. Alright, so let's get into it. The first thing that's important, obviously, is the exact list that we're running. So I'll probably be running the main 60 for Pure Pult right now. It's the second place list from Milwaukee from McCanny Trend. A couple of changes I thought about. 2 Brock Scouting is pretty good. I would maybe see bumping this down to 1 for another Arvin. Brock Scouting is a card that's really good when you're getting Badooed. But in my opinion, this deck is already pretty good against the main source of Badoo, which is going to be the Dragapult Mirror. So if you're facing something like the Duskull, the Dusknor version, you should be favored anyway, even without Brock Scouting. And so bumping it up to a 4th Arvin for consistency could be really good. Just because the turn 1 Arvin to Buddy Buddy Puff, or to Buddy Buddy to rescue board, so you can retreat your active out to the Badoo is really good, turn 1. We'll just try the exact 60. I actually haven't played this list too much, so we'll see how that works. A few things to note, we're running a 3-2-2 of Luminous, Fire, and Psychic, so if we're going to be utilizing the Monkey Dory, we can only use the Luminous energy. So that's something to be aware of in a matchup where we'll need Monkey Dory, prioritizing attaching basing energies to our Dracloaks as we're setting them up. We're also running both Bravery Charm and Luxurious Cape, and so I think a big thing with the deck is going to be understanding when you need to use each of those items and which situation they're good. For example, Luxurious Cape is really good when it's placed on a Dracloak against something like Raging Bolt or something like Terrabox, where they're going to be trying to aggressively sniping down your bench. The Luxurious Cape is going to be preventing them from doing that. It's going to be less good attaching it to something like a Badoo, but the Bravery Charm is really good for that. So in matchups where you need your Badoo to have a little bit more longevity, Bravery Charm is going to be really good. And then Bravery Charm is also useful when you can attach it to something like a Fez. You know, if you're facing like an Archaludon deck, for example, bitching Fez is often a big liability, so what you can do is you can Bravery Charm it to put it over that HP threshold to where they're no longer able to one-shot it. And that means you can get use out of Fezanipity in some matchups which you would otherwise not. Okay, and so now that we've kind of looked at the list, I think a big thing to talk about is the overall game plan for this sort of deck. So you can see that we're running 2 Badoo, obviously. Most Dragapult decks have shifted to running 2. Generally, the game plan in every single matchup, well, yeah, generally the game plan in just about every matchup is going to revolve around Badooing turn 1 and 2, while you try to set up a board with ideally a few Dracloaks, one with energy, another one with maybe at least one, or an experience share. Genesect on board is often good to get down, as well as a Monkey Dory. And then once you have that board set up, you often let the opponent take a few prize leads, so you can start really taking advantage of their board with your counter catchers and your unfair stamp. And then yeah, once you're ready to start swinging, that's often the turn in which you're going to unfair stamp. I think one common mistake that I see people make a lot of the time with this deck is they'll either burn their unfair stamp too early, or they will take aggro too early with the Dragapult EX. And so I think something that's really important to note with this deck is predicting what your opponent is going to do on the next turn of the game if you do some of these actions. So for example, say that you've Badooed for the first 2 turns and you have a Dragapult EX set up and ready to go, but you don't have a secondary Dracloak on the bench. Well, okay, that's sort of a danger zone, because if something happens to your Dragapult, say that you're facing Goldango, say that you're facing Raging Bolt, say that you're facing Terrabox or Joltic Box or something like that, that often means it's not best to take aggro in that situation. Often you can just Badu for another turn, let them take another prize, maybe go down to 3. That's typically fine. And then play for the next turn unfair stamp combo once you have a little bit more secure of a board. I think the prize race is really important to think about with this deck because, you know, say that they knock out 1 Badu, say that they knock out 2 Badu or 3. Each one changes sort of how you can play the game, because once you start swinging with Dragapult, you know, that's a 320 health target that they sort of have to get through. And so if you can put them in a situation where they have to get through 2 of them, or 2 of them and then a finisher like Blood Moon or Saluna, that can be very powerful for your board state. So yeah, I think the game plan is pretty complex, but definitely not undoable. Yeah, anything else? Yeah, Monkey Dory, I think, is another thing to touch on. Can be really, really good in matchups where they can't one-shot your Dragapult. It can also be really good in the mirror match. Really, it can be really widely applicable. I think knowing your matchups is where Monkey Doors shines, because if it's something where they're typically going to be one-shotting you, like Goldango, then it might be best to hold off benching it until it's needed, because you can really use that bench space for stuff like Fez or Genesect or Hotlucha. Similarly with Genesect, great card, but it's important to know the matchups in which it's going to be good. Ace Nullifier is great, again, in the mirror. It's great against stuff like Goldango to prevent the Energy Search Pro. It's really good against Gardevoir to prevent that aggressive secret box if you are not Baduing anymore. But again, it's one of those things where it's important to know when it's important to prioritize and when it might be not as important. I think I mentioned our Chaludon earlier. Depending on the build, Genesect isn't going to be huge. Obviously, it's good to have down if it lines up perfectly, but if you're ever having to debate between, okay, you know, do I put the Bravery Charm on my Fez or do I put it on Genesect? You know, knowing the matchup, like our Chaludon, is going to lead you to situations where you can say, okay, it's probably much better to just put the Bravery Charm on my Pheasantipity because I don't want them to one-shot and be past that damage threshold. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to talk about while we're just looking at the list here. I think I'll probably jump over into some games online so we can see how the deck runs. And alright, looks like we are getting into our first battle. So I think I'm just gonna probably just play this as I normally would and explain maybe my thought process behind each decision that I'm making. Couple caveats. One, this is 1500 elo. I just got the Arceus, so he might not be facing the most stringent or challenging players. And also, second caveat, I'm not the best player of this deck either, so I certainly might not be making the best decisions known to mankind. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get into it. So immediately we're faced with the decision of who to bench. And this is a really interesting decision already. We're starting with just a Dreepy. We have a Brock Scouting, so this can let us get like our Badu. We're running out of time. I'm just gonna bench Dreepy. We know we want him down, and the real question is, do we want to bench Fez? Well, my opponent decided to go second, so he's probably not playing something donk, and either way we can just decide to put down the Fez once we see. Okay, so it's a Duskull. Probably at this point we are assuming that he's going to be running probably Dragapult as well. So I think with that in mind, I'm just going to attach to Dreepy to get some energy acceleration going. There's ideas of like, okay, maybe we should hold this to wait for Monkey Dory or something like that. But this lets us just accelerate energy, you know, if we get an energy on our next turn or something like that. And also thinking ahead, what are we going to do? Probably next turn we'll want to Brock Scouting for 2 basics to get maybe Dreepy Badu or Dreepy Monkey Dory or something like that. If we do choose to go the Badu route, depending on he's running, like say this is Charizard, okay, we should probably speed up. But basically this just lets us accelerate energy a turn ahead if we need to do a play where we retreat into a Badu or something like that. Okay, this is kind of tough. Looks like he's got a good setup. Buddy Buddy, double Buddy Buddy, rescue board straight from hand is pretty crazy. Okay, so this is a good situation to kind of determine how we want to play the game out. What's our game plan? So we do hit a fire energy. Man, this is kind of a tough decision already. I'm not gonna lie. I think in general, dragapult, it's a little bit less important to start going for the Badu. Man, this is tough. We're gonna Brock scouting, maybe do a little bit of prize checking. Looks like we prized a dragapult. Energy search is in the deck. Stamp is in the deck. Rescue board looks like it's in the deck. Looks like we prized a psychic energy. Man, this is gonna be the worst meta-fi ever. I seriously have no clue what I'm doing. See, because the issue is, okay, we can Brock scouting and go for 2 Dreepies. And that's probably the play. Ugh, probably. I think we'll get Dreepy Badu. Just because, like, the other alternative would be to go into, like, just a Dracloak and then try to spike something off the recon. Doesn't seem like the best play, even though he probably won't be swinging with a Dragapult next turn. He could very much have like a Duskull or a Dusclops or something and start putting pressure. I think just getting the Badu started is good. Itchypawn shuts him down, and the other reason I'm making this play is because I didn't see a supporter from hand last turn. So likely that he has a hand of mostly items. Either way, next turn we can Brock scouting for the Dracloak and start seeing some card draw, hopefully. Oh, and I made a minor misplay, I just noticed. I attached the Luminous, well, yeah, I retreated and then attached the fire. Really what I should have done is I should have attached the fire and then discarded the fire, so then if I hit either a Psychic or a Luminous, I would still have that that card advantage. So we're going to go ahead and get the Dracloak set up. We want to start seeing cards. He put down the Genesect. Defiance Band has been used, but it's not too good for us in this matchup. In this situation, we're probably going to go for an Energy Search, just if we ever can break that item lock. We want to do it. And then right now I'm really debating whether or not I attach the Bravery Charm to the Badu or not. I think in this situation I'm going to. Yeah, I think in this situation I'm going to. We don't have a monkey down. I didn't have to commit that right then, but we're winning this Badu war right now. He is probably not running Monkey Dory. And if I can get a knockout next turn, yeah, that's kind of the other thing I was saying, is that if we get Iono'd, we would probably rather just have the Bravery Charm on the Badu for now. Alright, this is nice. We do turn the Dracloak Psychic so we can power him our other one. And he just Itchypawns. Okay, this is really honestly pretty good. So I'm going to do an important sequencing thing here. I think I'm going to Iono and then recon. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to attach just to set this up to potentially evolve into a Dragapult. Iono first. There's the argument for reconning first, just so we could try to hit other supporters. But really, it's a matter of like, what could we probably hit? We don't really want to research that hand. There were some counter catchers and stuff like that. I mean, it would have been okay too, but we'd just rather Iono. We're out of Brock scouting, I think, and so we don't want to hit the Arben. So we'd rather just see our fresh 6 before we start reconning. And now we can switch in Buddy Buddy, probably just the Buddy Buddy. in case we ever do break item block, like for next turn. I mean, not like we're really going to be setting up more Dreepies, but switch is probably not super important at this point. And then probably we'll just grab a boss, I think. So really the thing that we're worried about right now is if he evolves into dragapult and then either bosses our one Dracloak or evolves into Dusclops and then Phantom dives and takes out the Dracloak. That's like our main fear. If that happens, you know, c'est la vie. There's not a lot we can do about it. Either way, I think we'll just grab the boss. Because if he doesn't, next turn we can hopefully recon some more, start taking out his important pieces. I'm going to bench another Dreepy. Sometimes you have to worry about the prize liability once it's late game against another Dragapult, because that could be like another one prize. But because there's the potential of him taking out this one, we're going to bench it. Hope he doesn't. I could have played that better. The other thing I could have done is I could have put the Psychic on the first Dragapult, or the first Dracloak, so we have two set up, each with one energy. But I was kind of hoping that we would hit the Dragapult off the Iono. That might have been another misplay, so. Another thing, you might be wondering why I started powering up the one that was damaged with 10 in the beginning. And that's because it's the one that I wanted to evolve, right? So if you imagine a situation where the other one is stuck as a Dreepy, we don't hit another Dracloak, for example, we would rather not have a 60 health Dreepy on the bench. We would rather have a 80 health Dracloak because that's a better health point against the Dragapult mirror. Yeah, not much to say. Looks like he's got Dusclops. He's probably going to be using it then. Yep. Oh boy. This is not looking good. There's a monkey. Oh, he's hoping to just spike the Dragapult. Hopefully he doesn't, but odds are probably pretty good for him too. Wow. That's pretty good. That's exactly what we want to see. Alright, so here's the first big question, is do we start taking aggro? In this situation, I generally think the answer is yes. If you look at our board, we have a Dracloak powered up. We have another one with one energy that we can potentially attach later. I think things are looking pretty good. Oh yeah, wow. We can go ahead and grab that boss. If you'll notice with our Ultra Ball in hand, that means we can boss his Dracloak and take out Dracloak and then his Duskull. And we're just sitting in a great position for the rest of the game. That'll probably be the line we go for. Hawlucha is really good as well. I don't think we'll need it this turn. Will we? Grab a research for later. Huh. Okay, so this is an interesting thing because he does have a Dracloak on the bench with a EXP share. So if we take out this Dracloak, no, I think it's still important to boss. So all right, so there's questions, right? Of like, do I just save the boss and just take two prizes now, and then next turn I might be able to boss to go for like, okay, I can knock out Genesect and then Dreepy with Hawlucha. I think it's probably just better to boss now. It's close, right? Because if I knock out the Duskull, he can't knock out my Dragapult anyway. And saving the boss potentially is really good because then if he doesn't evolve like either of those Dreepies, like if he leaves just one, then next turn we can Hawlucha and take them out. It's actually pretty close, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna discard Arven. We're probably researching next turn. the more I think about it, the more I actually do like potentially leaving those, leaving the boss in my hand as a potential option. I mean, the thing is I'm probably getting unfair stamp next turn, so I'm just gonna entry ahead of time, because I am probably getting stamped. So just having this on the bench, it's a health liability around the same as Badu, so I think it shouldn't matter too much. And having this 10 here could be really big, because say that we get stamped to 2, if we can just dig for 1 boss, we'll immediately win the game if he leaves a Dreepy on the bench with boss on Genesect. So I think this is probably the best play. Just to make things very blatant, I'm knocking out the Dusk Call so that he cannot next turn go Phantom Dive and Dusclops or Duskmare damage to take a one-shot on my own Dragapult. So we'll get at least 1 more turn of attacking with Dragapult. One thing I will mention, again, I'm not a master of this deck, and I most certainly do not always make the ideal plays, so honestly, if any improvements could be made, please let me know. I think that really we could have done a much better job this game, too. I think that I think that leaving 1 energy on each of the Draclooks is probably a much better play. The only reason I attached to both is because it was a different type of energy, basic energy. But still, it was definitely something in the back of my mind. I was nervous about that Evo into Dusclops Phantom Dive play. I think I mentioned it earlier, but luckily the risk paid off. But it's certainly not always going to. So it looks like he is going to be able to get double Draclooks up. That's a good move on his part to prioritize that. He's reconning now, so we're probably not getting stamped unless he hits it off one of these recons. Ooh, but benching Fez might be a mistake. That's the other thing. There was an argument to save Halucha just in case he did bench Fez, but meh. We're still really in a commanding position this game because we're probably just going to Phantom Dive and spread damage to everything on the bench. I'm just going to research here to see cards. Night Stretcher, just checking our discard. We just have a Dreepy. So the real problem here is that we didn't actually, or we don't have our other Dragapult in deck. If you remember from earlier, I believe it is prized. So that's sort of a problem. I also think our Defiance Band was prized. I don't remember if this list is running it. Let's double check. It's not running one. Okay. So probably we're just going to get Ultra Ball then. Arven is less useful when we have most of the tools that we need. The ideas of getting a Luxurious Cape for this, for example, are too slow. Man, so the real problem is that we didn't see any other energy here, and that's a big problem, because next turn we won't be able to just immediately power up Dragapult. We're basically going to play to hit this and then Blood Moon next turn. Well, yeah, we'll have to see. Second recon. Alright, there's the Ursaluna. I just grab it now. Yeah, this is unfortunately kind of awkward. I think we're just gonna... Damn, it's tough. I think we're just gonna have to Phantom Dive and hope we want at least 10 on the Fez, and then we'll probably just put the rest on a Dragapult. Alright, sorry, we unfortunately had to cut out there. But the worst case scenario happened. We got a Duskull on the bench, Iono to 2, and then Unfair Dive taking out a Dracloak. And this is another misplay. I thought about benching the Pheasantipity last turn in order to help with a situation like this. But unfortunately, I just don't think it's good enough. So we're taking boss's orders here. That's a good find off the Dracloak. It's important to keep in mind this is going to leave us with 1 boss in deck. But But yeah, we are kind of screwed, I'm not gonna lie. I think the best thing to do right here is to Night Stretcher for a dragapult. So that if he's able to Phantom Dive next turn, he can't take out our Dracloak. I know that it doesn't leave us with much card draw in hand, but I do think it is the best play at the moment. And then I'm not actually sure. Time to look at his discard. What we're going to look at is to see if his retreat board is out and to get a count of his energy, so we can know if it's better to boss like the Fez or something like that. Looks like he's got 1 energy in the discard pile and his rescue board is there. So he probably has more energy in hand, I would imagine. Man, it's making me wonder if the boss is even worth it. Either way, we're definitely attaching this energy to dragapult. Man, we're in a tough spot. I don't know. What would y'all do here? The boss or not question is certainly interesting. Like bossing the Fez forces him to find an energy to start swinging with it. On the other hand, saving the boss means that next turn, I think I am just gonna boss. Man, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I just bossed the Fez and then she pollen. It's not a great play. The one thing we have going for us is that if he wants to take 3 prizes, he needs to have boss and then... Actually, he can't. Because we shut off rare candy if he runs it. So. Yeah, unfortunately we had to evolve into Dragapult. Probably, like we really couldn't leave the, oh god. We couldn't leave it down, because if it gets knocked out, our card draw goes out the window anyway. Fails a Jacques. Okay. Alright, looks like we're losing this game. I think that there were really 2 misplays, but I think were pretty pivotal in this match. The first one is, well, actually, I don't know. The first one was not splitting the energy on the Dracloak. That was, I think, an unnecessary risk. The second one may have been not benching the Fez last turn in preparation for the Iono. The problem is that that's a little bit sketchy, because now I would be in a worse situation where I have a 3 prize liability, or a 2 prize liability that he would have been able to just boss and kill with Dusclops. So if he had a boss in this big hand, I would have lost on the spot. He hasn't even, he's used 1 boss, so still has another one probably. It's iffy whether or not it's a misplay. I mean, it's just such a big liability is the issue. Looks like we're promoting Dragapult and praying. Alright, so we did lose that game. We drew that unfair stamp and we couldn't play it because the Genesect was in play. So that's a little bit unfortunate that we lose. I think it goes to show like how punishing the deck really can be. If you notice, all the way back at the beginning of the game, I mentioned the misplay I had where I attached the Luminous and then didn't attach the fire before I retreated on the Dreepy the very first turn to go into Badu. If you notice, if I had actually thought about it a little bit more and attached the fire ahead of time so that I could discard the fire, I actually would have had an energy in the discard to Night Stretcher when I researched into that hand. I went back and looked through the recording, and that actually would have been the case. The reason we lost that game again is because we whiffed that energy on that second turn. My opponent was looking to take out my only Dracloak with energy on it, and then we would not have had any way to power up the other Dracloak in time, and that's exactly what happened. Again, if on that first turn we had just been a little bit more careful and discarded the fire energy, we actually would have taken that game home. So it's a little bit unfortunate to see. I think that, again, I'm not the best pilot of this deck. As you can see, it's very punishing, but I think this sort of reflection is really important when you're playing a deck like this, to not say like, oh, I got unlucky, oh, that game just sucked, I bricked, you know, I researched and I didn't see a single energy out of 4 or 5 left in the deck, like, oh, woe is me. I think it's really just important to think, like, how could my actions have changed the tide of that game? And again, that very first turn, I made a misplay. I recognized it as soon as I did it, and sure enough, it actually led to me losing the game down the line. So yeah, I think that's definitely a game, to say the least. In general, that's how you would play the mirror match, though. I think other than that, I did pretty well. We didn't get an opportunity to set that monkey up, as I mentioned, unfortunately, so that would have been something else that really would have helped. The question I mentioned earlier of like when to take aggro, unfortunately that was a situation in which we probably have to, just because, again, we were putting our opponent in a position where we are going to get basically 2 Pult attacks off before they can really get one. And so you kind of just have to take that opportunity when it comes. It is, again, just so unfortunate that we whiffed the attachment on that one turn. So we're going to try to get into another match after this probably. I'll try to get one that's not in the mirror so we can see how it might work in that situation. So yeah. Alright, getting into one final match here. Hopefully we can go second this time to maybe see a little bit better of how this deck operates. Oh, looks like we will go second by choice of our opponent, so that's kind of interesting. Starting a monkey. Great hand though. Wow, look at this. Arvin, buddy. Ultra Ball. Alright, looks like we're facing down my old friend, Roaring Moon. I haven't had a lot of experience with this deck. It seems like it should be a pretty good matchup for us, all things considered. I think the important thing is probably going to be trying to aggressively take down Dunsparces if I can. Monkey Dory is actually going to be pretty good in this matchup generally, because, again, if a Dreepy is ever not one shot, then we can just go ahead and, like, take out a Dunsparce, you know. So already we have such an interesting position, because, I mean, first thing we can do is Arvin, right? Well, yeah, first thing we can do is Arvin. Honestly, we have a problem where the rest of our hand is pretty bad. We're going to have access to a lot of basics with Buddy Puffin. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and grab the rescue board and an unfair stamp. We'll go ahead and do some price checking to see. Looks like we praised our experience share, which hurts, again, with the idea of paying attention to the energy. Praised the dragapult again. Probably isn't going to be the biggest deal in this matchup because they're not going to be doing spread damage. We have Genesect. Lucha. Alright, looks like we doing pretty good. Go ahead and grab those. I think the important thing to pay attention to here is to make sure that we let's just go ahead and double check. Making sure that we keep our Artisan for the late game, because this is a deck that often likes to play that neutralization zone. So it's really, really important to make sure that we're saving our stadium bump for the neutralization zone. So let's just think about what our next turn is probably going to look like. He's going to knock out Badu. We are probably going to... Yeah, I mean, I think we probably just stamp then, hope that he doesn't get a Dunsparce set up. Okay, so really one of the things I'm looking for, and sorry that I'm rambling, I didn't see him play any sort of Great Ball or Ultra Ball next turn, so we're really hoping that he just sort of whiffs on evoing into the Dunsparce, and then from there we can stamp him low, and then hopefully start setting up from there. I know that I mentioned the importance of waiting until your combo turn to pull off the stamp. But I think it's a little bit less important against an aggro deck like this, especially because they have so much built-in draw power with the Dunsparce engine. So if we ever see an opportunity to stamp them low and then take another turn of item lock, as we should be able to with the Artisan again, that's really good for us. So we'll see what he does. And he just Vengeance Fletchlings. Does not evolve into the Dunsparce. So in my opinion, this is a really, really, really good opportunity, which we can take here. Genesect is interesting. I'm not so sure that we want it down. I think I'd rather just Ultra Ball it away. Go get a Dracloak. Evolve this one. I will be attaching the Luminous to Dracloak this time. I know this list. Typically they only run 2 boss. Gonna get the Badu to further item block him. They only run 2 boss. He's only doing 80. It seems like a pretty safe play. We're stamping into 2. He would have to find... Actually, I don't think he can, because he would have to find some way to discard an Ancient and a boss, and I don't know if he can do that without items necessarily. But this is looking pretty good for us in general. The energy is nice. So is the research. We have 2 Luminous in hand. Probably take the research just to set us up for, say, if next turn we went to like Rock Scouting for a dragapult or something like that. We can keep that energy in deck and then set up the next turn with research. Dracloak is perfect, but we might take the counter catcher. Yeah, we might take the counter catcher. I think I'm just gonna maybe be a little risky. Again, we have Ultra Ball and Brock Scouting, so we can get really whatever evolution we want next turn. I think Brock Scouting is, or Counter Catcher is probably better for now. If we can put him into a position where he is without the Dunsparces, that's sort of our ideal. Oh, and I haven't even played a supporter for turn, have I? Wow, very nice. Very, 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 very nice. Then yeah, it looks like I'm probably just going to Brock Scouting for the Dracloak. Could get the Fez. I don't really like playing Fez down against this deck. Alright, tough choice. Fez opens up another 2 prize liability for them to take out. Okay, so we're going to be itchy pawning again. There's the question of, do we counter catcher now? It's tough. We could, certainly, and just say, alright, you have to hit at the Dunsparce right now, and then we save ourselves a prize. But then if that happens, we really want to be playing another counter catcher that following turn, because we don't necessarily want to be swinging onto a 60 health to Dunsparce. And I think it might be better to save it for later, in case he can't Evo. It's actually really close. Like, I'll do it. What the hell? It's time for experimentation. He basically has to hit the... We're saying that he has to hit the Dunsparce in his hand with no way to search it. So I mean, he should have like 4 outs really, or 8. I mean, he's gonna have 4 to Dunsparce and then 4 Explorer's Guidance. He can Sadas, but that's really a waste of a Sadas. This deck typically doesn't play Palpad, so keeping count of their Sadas is really important. He finds the energy to attach, but this is maybe a benefit of the counter catcher is now I can take out a Dunsparce. Go ahead and use Artisan. See if we can get our last rupee up. So I think this is another thing that's really important. I think there's this impulse to immediately attach the Luminous onto the Monkey Dory. I think that's probably a misplay unless... Okay, let's recon first and see what we get. Dracloak, nice. Probably should have taken that Brock scouting because we could have found the dragapult, but we do have the Ultra Ball in hand. And the boss's orders, I'll grab the boss. Okay, so yeah, this is one thing. I'm gonna Ultra Ball for the dragapult here. I think I misplayed again. I think I forgot to recon with the one on the top. See, look at me, man. This is what happens when you try to do a masterclass over a deck you don't play. A small Night Stretcher. That spell might be good. Night Stretcher is also good. If we have to Badoo for some reason. I'll grab Night Stretcher. Opens up lines for like Genesect, stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, again with the idea of being careful to track your energy, we are going to attach it to the Dracloak because this deck does have the potential to pull out a play where they Roaring Moon EX, Sada's Energy Switch. It's really unlikely that it happens, but next turn we can always Luminous onto the Monkey Dory and then start spreading damage again if he has to swing into Dragapult. So I think that's the play we're going to go for. I don't see a need to boss. I think taking this out is good enough on its own. And I really don't want to research because we have the Dracloak in hand, the Luminous in hand next turn for the Monkey Dory. And really there's not that much I even want to accomplish for this turn. So I think it's okay just to hold both supporters in hand. We're opening ourselves up for next turn. And I think we're taking a really nice lead in this game. The other thing too is to keep the Night Stretcher because I think we prized a Dragapult again. So again, if he does manage to pull off that Roaring Moon play, we'll need the Night Stretcher. And we've already discarded one, as you can see. Establishes a Roaring Moon. Really? Catches Legacy Energy. That is really interesting. That's not at all what I was expecting. Oh, but looks like we just have the concede. I'm not sure if you caught it there at the end. Looks like he Pokegeared, probably didn't hit anything. I think that's probably worth a concede because I'm not sure that you could even come back from that situation. Legacy Energy is so interesting. Makes sense in a deck like this, I guess. But yeah, so that's how this deck might play against something that's more aggro. As you can see, there was kind of that nice little string of Badoo for the first two turns. Set up your Dracloaks on the bench, and then try to get an unfair stamp turn off when the time was ideal. Against that deck, we watched to make sure they didn't have any inherent draw power on the bench, like no to Dunsparce that they had access to, just in play. Waited for that unfair stamp, and then just started trying to take out their low health targets. I think in play, I do like that counter catcher. From the get-go. I think that made a lot of sense there. It forced them to have one more piece to take that extra prize. So I think that was a good play. But yeah, pretty easy game there. Does not make me too optimistic about that Ancient Box as a potential deck. I know this video is getting a bit long. I might try another game. I'll edit this all together, and if this is way too long, then I'll do like a little outro, but for now, we might try another one in a second. Alright, looks like we're heading into this third match. I think just as we're approaching it, I think the really big thing I want to emphasize, just over and over, is how important it is in a deck like Dragapult to really plan ahead your turns and say, okay, what happens if my opponent can do this? In particular, saying what happens if my opponent can knock out my Dragapult this next turn. You pretty much always want to have a backup plan, because Dragapult as a deck is something that gets a lot weaker if you miss your pattern of swinging with Dragapult once you actually start swinging. So yeah, I think that's just something I really want to pay attention to more. I think even as I'm playing it, again, I haven't really played this deck before. That's something that I want to focus on more. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and bench Dreepy. We're not benching Blood Moon or Saluna. They are probably not playing Poison Arch Donk. Oh my god, no! Looks like we're facing a Hops deck with a Dunsparce engine. Interesting. But yeah, I just kind of as I was saying, they're probably not playing Poison Arch, and really benching Blood Moon or Saluna just for the slight chance that they might try to donk you is so not worth it, because it's really a losing play in every other matchup. So that's really just an odds play to not bench the Ursaluna. And either way, now we know that they're not. So okie dokie. Alright, I have no clue what deck we're facing. I saw Hobbs Choice banned. I see Okie Dokie. I have no words. This probably means that we're gonna lose, to be honest with you, if I don't know what they're playing, so... No, probably not. More Okie Dokie. I mean, when I see a deck that I don't know, the first thing I really do is I try to assess, okay, what's their game plan? Okie Dokie gets 100 HP, 100 more damage if it has Dark, so that's going to put it up to 280. It'll be swinging for 170. That's nothing that's even too bad for us. Looks like we do have a really good hand as well, so we'll start it off with a Buddy Buddy, trying to establish that Badu, to slow him down, do a little prize checking. Again, we prize a Dragapult. Looks like that's 3 for 3 on the prizing a Dragapult. Looks like Fez is prized as well. We have Genesect. We have Monkey Door. He's probably going to be pretty good against this deck. I would imagine they can't one-shot our Dragapults, so that's probably a good thing. We probably don't even want to bench Fez anyway, because it looks like it'll get one-shot by Okie Dokie. So yeah, Unfirst Stamp is in. Share is in. Looks like we prized a Fire Energy. Artisan is in. Cool. Oh no, I was sorry, I'm being silly. We have a Dragapult in hand. I didn't play close enough attention. Pinch that Drapey. Go ahead and use Arven. I think this is another example where we probably don't want to grab the Buddy Buddy Puffin, just because we already have a really good setup. I don't see a world in which they can really knock out the Badu next turn, so it's not like we do establish another one right away. So I'm just going to go for the energy search to start accelerating energy. Grab the rescue board to be able to retreat into the Badu. Again, this is one of those plays where it's like, grab the Psychic because it's the, well actually, which is the better play? So I think if we... Yeah, I think grabbing Fire is the better play here, oddly enough, because that means drawing into our energy. We have 5 outs in total. But if we just grab a Psychic, then we're actually reducing one of our outs to draw into our other necessary energy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that Fire. Attach it to... So this is another little minor thing with the deck. I think that you probably don't want the energy on the Dreepy that you have the board on. Because if we're looking at our Dreepies, right? The one we're going to be attacking with... Oh, but I'm forgetting, we don't run Defiance Band. Sorry, I was going to say that the one we're attacking with would probably want to be putting Defiance Band on. I don't think we run any modifying tools, so I think it is okay to attach to this one. In fact, that's actually better, because if either one of these gets knocked out, we can experience share the other one. So we're just going to put the energy on that Dreepy, put Badu. Just really quickly running through our play again. Looks like they have these Dunsparces set up. Next turn we can rock scouting for more Dracloaks and start drawing. I think it's probably unlikely that they start attacking us next turn. I'm not sure what would accelerate to it. Maybe a Crispin, but Yeah, I mean, I guess if they had like Crispin and then like a Luminous or something, that could work. But either way, we're gonna Itchy Pollen. Um, if they do knock out our Badu, not the end of the world. Um, I think our main priority right now is getting Dracloak set up. We don't have a great hand. They're our main draw power in situations like this. Draw pass is perfect, exactly what we're wanting to see. Evolve to Dracloak, the one with energy that we're accelerating. Go ahead and recon. Before Brock scouting, important sequencing. So in this decision, a couple things I'm thinking about. One is that does the Bravery Charm help our Badu at all? I don't think so. I think that they're probably going to be one-shotting with Okidogi either way. Doesn't really help our GPs, so I think I'm just going to get the Halucha. I think it's quite good to start taking out these 70 health Dunsparces. So I think that's just better. Rock Scouting, grab another Dracloak. As I mentioned, we want to start getting our draw engine up. Arven, pretty much exactly what we want to see, I think. That would let us search for Stamp and EXP share, potentially. I don't think it can find us energy. I think we already used our energy search, but it still sets us up really nicely for next turn. We could bench Monkey Dory here. We could bench Monkey Dory. It does seem a little bit preemptive. We're not going to get use out of it for 3 turns, 2 turns at least, because they would have to get through our Badu. I'd have to promote Dragapult. They'd have to swing into it, and then finally on that 3rd turn we can get value from it. I think I'd rather just Ultra Ball it away for now to get a 3rd Dracloak. Like I mentioned, I think draw power is really, really important on this turn and the next, because you just want to get that board set up really quickly before your opponent can find a potential answer to your Badu. I don't know that this super matters. Probably I'll take Switch, just to prevent the potential play. We don't have energy in hand, so this is preventing a play where, as a last resort, they boss like an unenergied Dracloak or something. Itchy Pollen again. Last turn was draw pass for them, so I'm hoping it's the same. Ooh, looks like they got a good top deck. We're gonna see some draws. Still though, I think with that supporter attachment, I want to, or with that supporter being Jacques, I want to say that's another turn in which they can't swing with Okidogi. There's the Luminous like I thought. I really have no clue what list this is. I haven't seen it much before. Looks like they use both of those to Dunsparces. Honestly, so here's what we're playing for, right? It's for the town store. So really, I mean, one of the things we're hoping for is that like next turn, he'll go swing into our Badu, and then we can start swinging back on him with a stamp when he doesn't really have that many Dunsparce benched. That's kind of our ideal thing. One other thing that's important to think about is like what's on the bottom of your deck. So right now we know one of the cards on the bottom of our deck is a Luxurious Cape, since we grabbed it from the last recon. So I actually prefer to do our recons before using something like Town Store, for example, just because it's one less card that we know we'll see from the recons. And we are, you know, more likely to draw stuff like the Dragapult, which we could use, or the Boss, which we could use. I think I'm going to grab the Boss. We already have a Dragapult in hand. We'll probably be evolving it this turn to protect our energy attachment. Go ahead and recon again. Luminous is really, really good. That lets us get him powered up for next turn. And Dracloak once again. I honestly think Ultra Ball is probably better. I don't want to Artisan. I like having the Town Store up. I think it's so much worse for him. He would really like to have Artisan to start getting those to Dunsparces. And so now there's a question of kind of what we can do. I think it's fair to say that we're evolving into Dragapult to protect our energy at least. There's a question of, okay, do we want to go for the aggro now, or do we just want to wait another turn, let him swing into our Badu and stamp him? It's an interesting decision. I mean, what I can say for sure is that we're probably not getting one shot, right? Um, go ahead and town store now. I want to pick up an EXP share for one of our bench Dracloaks. Just some minor price checking while we're here. Stamp is in deck. It's good to double check that. Um, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of interesting. A better dragapult player than me is probably just waiting. The one thing that's nice is that we can take out his only Dunsparce in play if we swing right now. Yeah, man, it's tough. So even given that this is the only Dunsparce he benched, I think I'm relatively okay with Itchy Pawning for another turn here. Because think about what we can achieve. Potentially, if we get like a Night Stretcher, we can set up a Monkey Dory again. We'll bench Genesect just because I don't know what ace spec he's playing. You know what? And we'll Arven now. Kind of show our hand. He's probably running Iono. That's okay. I'm just going to charm the Genesect. Just so that, you know, there's no plays of him like bossing it and knocking it out or something like that. And I'll just Itchy Pollen. I'm okay with this play. I feel like, again, we really just want to wait, bide our time, build our board, wait for him to be the aggressor. There's obviously potential here to Hawlucha and take a knockout on the Dunsparce. I just think it's a bit weak. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this video that you really want to be swinging with Dragapult on the same turn that you're comboing Unfair Stamp, other stuff like that. So I think in my mind this is really an okay play to make. Worst case scenario is he'll bench a few more Dunsparce. And then again, if he ever evolves into a Dunsparce to try to prevent the stamp play, we have the boss in hand. So yeah, if he grabs like a if he grabs a Dunsparce and tries to rely on that, we can certainly boss it up next turn. And I think that's a bit stronger than just swinging into an Okidogi. EXP share up. Doesn't help him right now. He's got Bravery Charms on both of his Okidogis. Seems to be thinning for something. Maybe he doesn't even have the energy. EXP share is online. Just passes. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think this is another turn where I think we're okay to just keep reconning. I don't feel the inherent need to start pulling the trigger yet. I wish I knew the reach of this deck I'm facing a little bit better. Man, I mean, now it's getting a little bit tougher, right? Because he's starting to set up, like, EXP shares. He's got another Dunsparce. Would I get boss instead of Night Stretcher? Sorry, I'm kind of doing without thinking. I maybe should have gotten the Night Stretcher to get the Monkey Dory back. So last turn he Broxed Scouting for a Dunsparce. Yeah, I really think I'm kind of still okay with this. I mean, is there a reason to get aggressive here? Probably. Probably at some point it just becomes beneficial for us. Let's see. So if I boss up the one with the EXP share and knock it out, I can spread 50 to this one, setting it up for a knockout, 10 onto the Dunsparce, potentially setting it up for next turn. So that could be nice. Lets me take a prize. I could Hawlucha the Dunsparce. I think I am going to just take the knockout here. I mean, at a certain point, our board becomes so good that it's almost superfluous for us to try to improve it anymore before getting aggro. And really, again, if he takes a KO, then we'll have that stamp in the future. It's just a problem against these Dunsparce decks. I'm not going to use Hawlucha now because, again, I think that's something we want to save for a stamp turn in the future, where I can put 10 on it now, put the rest on this guy to make him KOable next turn, because it's the one with the Luminous. And then I'm still okay with this play, I think. Got our Fez, which we probably won't be benching. Because he's doing what? 170, right? So 170 times 2 is 340. So if we do get access to that Monkey Dory, then he won't even be able to two-shot us. He might be playing a Monkey Dory of his own, actually, is something I didn't consider. Got a buddy poffin for the Dunsparces. Hop's Choice Band, huh? Yeah, I was gonna say it has to be just a Cramorant then. So that's a bit of a problem, because now if he does 170, we'll get knocked out by the Cramorant next turn if we take more prizes. Counter Catcher. Genesect. Interesting. He does not want me to get that Genesect, huh? I wonder what his ace spec could be.
There.
Good punches to put us on equal pricing. So, yeah, so I think this is one of those points at which this would be a good turn to play for Stamp, I think. The good thing is he didn't hit my Dragapult, so even with Hop's Cramorant, it's not like he's going to be able to take a one-shot. I will Town Store right now, just to shuffle the deck. He Iona'd us, so we know that our Arvins and our Stamps are on the bottom. This lets us thin a card and then hope to hit a Stamp off the Recon, or at least an Arvin. I had a Night Stretcher. That lets us get that Monkey Dory back that I was talking about. Establishing another Dreepy is good, but we have a lot of ways to do that. And an Ultra Ball.
It's fine.
Probably, I might just grab the Buddy again to establish that extra Dreepy. If we're looking at our board right now, we would have 2 Dracloaks, another Dreepy, and a Monkey Dory, which I think is really good. So go ahead and use that. That might have been a misplay. The other thing we could have done is wait, go for Hawlucha, and then take a double knockout onto Dunsparce's. It's probably a pretty good play. It's one of those opportunities where it's kind of good to prize map to think, okay, so if I do that play, take a knockout on the Dunsparce in this, puts me down to 3 prizes. At some point in the future, I'll be able to swing onto 1 prize take 1. He needs at least 2 turns to take that out, so it definitely puts me at an advantage. I think I'll get the Dreepy. I might wait on the Hawlucha. I think he'll need to, at minimum, attach another energy to this. And if he's Hop's Cramoranting, man, it's kind of tough again. Sorry that I'm so indecisive today. Yeah, I actually think I like that better. I'm gonna get the Hawlucha. The reason for this is that it puts us down to 3 prize cards, so it means this Hop's Cramorant is only going to be active for 1 turn after that, if I can swing back into him. So I think I'm just going to make this play now. Problem means we're wasting one of our damage counters for Flying Entry. Because there's a 100% chance pretty much he's going to be able to Evo that next turn. But we'll Phantom Dive, knock out a Dunsparce. Even if he gets energy on the Monkey Dory, he'll only be able to transfer 10. So it's kind of big. And then, of course, we're keeping all 3 of our Night Stretchers, so if our Dragapult gets knocked out, we can get it back immediately. Alright, sorry, we had to cut a little bit there. Looks like my opponent just Dunsparced a little bit, played another one on the bench, and is going to take out my Dracloak. This is a little bit scary. Like I mentioned, it's always really good to be able to have one on the bench with energy. But it's not too big of a deal. We're gonna swing, go down to 2 prizes, he can't hops anymore. And then even if he plays something like, I don't even know, this list could potentially play like Lily's Clefairy, maybe, with the Luminous. I mean, I don't know what other way he would be able to knock out my Dragapult in one shot with. But either way, we'll be able to just attach this fire to one of our 2 Draklooks on the bench. We can Night Stretcher for one. And again, we're in a really good spot. I think I'm probably going to be looking to research. Night Stretcher's tough. I know that we didn't prize. We did not prize a Dragapult, if I remember correctly. We probably can't research away 2 Night Stretcher when we have that much. When we have, you know, we could potentially need Ursaluna for later. We could potentially need Genesect for later. Let's go ahead and, that's a tough one. We might want to Iono this, honestly. That's not a bad play either. We do have the Psychic in the discard, so maybe we just want to keep our Night Stretchers. The only thing I'm thinking about is potentially digging to try to find another boss next turn. So like if worst comes to worst, we can boss something, try to take another 2 prizes on the Dunsparce or the Okidogi or something like that. But I don't think it's too big of an issue. I think our hand is largely forced. I'm just gonna start reconning. I think keeping the Night Stretchers is fine. Reconning first allows us to hit the boss through the recons and then still maintain our very nice hand. The ideal is that we would have the Night Stretchers and the boss, but I think it's kind of fine. I think we're just in a really good position. Not artisaning because it's setting us up for the boss next turn. Yeah, I think. Oh, and as I say that, I just played Ultra Ball without even thinking about it. All right, guess we're done with that. I'm doing this just to thin, really. You get Ionoed or something like that. I don't want this much stuff in my deck. A lot of energy outs. 2 bosses in there, like I said. I mean, we don't even want the Night Stretcher that badly, right? It might be okay to Iono here. But it's such a bad play after I've already used my recons. I think it's okay. I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna chill. I'll Phantom Dive. Set up the Dunsparces for a potential KO, and then put the rest on Okidogi. There was some merit to putting 20 on Okidogi and 20 on Monkey, so that if he has a Monkey energy, he can't one-shot a Budu with 40. There's some merit to that. I don't think it matters too much. I think, again, we're just really ahead in this game. Alright, so what happened is my opponent artisaned, got a Monkey Dory, researched away some stuff. Dunsparce EX here is interesting. Got rid of. Puts up his Dunsparce. He's gonna run away draw probably. I just don't see how we lose this game. I mean, he attached return onto the Okidogi and then played a supporter, so he's not gonna be doing either of these this turn. I think there was also some merit the previous turn to putting all 60 on just one of the Monkey Dories to set up the boss KO next turn. It actually probably was much better. He can't even get an attack off. It's really not looking good for him. Yeah, I mean at this point there's just not much to say. Alright, so really what we're going to do is we're just going to prepare to make sure that we mega can't brick. Just go ahead and recon for something. Doesn't really matter. We can thin that with Ultra Ball. Go ahead and Night Stretcher for our Psychic Energy. Boom. Evolve to Dragapult. We're just setting it up to make sure that even if some miracle happens, you know, he has some crazy Iono, yeah, Iono Clefairy, something like that. We even hit a boss. We know that his switch is on our deck, which is a big deal. So again, if he tries to go for like a boss play on one of our retreat cost Pokemon. I'm trying to think of if we even want to swing into this or how we want to handle it. So if we swing and put all on this, we will put him at 100 total, so we'll get on to 180. We won't be able to one-shot him next turn. So I actually don't hate just swinging into him here. Again, our hand is just so massive and our advantage is so big. We're Ultra Balling to thin since we hit the boss. Grab a Dracloak just, again, to thin more. Also moves the switch higher in our deck if he tries to go for, like, some sort of, you know, some sort of play. It's just one of those situations where you just win by doing really anything. So I think I'm going to stack all 60 on a monkey. Because this puts him in a situation, right, where say he can only monkey with one. If he moves 30 off of this, it means we can't knock it out with Phantom Dive. But then we can go boss and knock out this with the damage. And if he moves damage off of this, we can obviously just knock out both of them with Phantom Dive still. So I think this is a good... Again, not that it really matters. I think we're super winning this game, but I think that's the best use of our damage counters right now. And probably was the best play last turn. I'd imagine he's probably going to neutralization zone here. That's probably his ace spec and why he was targeting down Genesect so heavily. Yeah, there it is. We saw it. Looks like he found a Luminous Energy too, so we will be able to monkey. This is a bit of a problem because we can't boss and go for something else on the same turn. But if you think about it, we actually don't even need the boss. So we have 10 cards in deck. I think that we've thinned all we can with the Ultra Ball. So just for like complete and utter safety, we're gonna double check. This is what I would do in a tournament. I'm double checking to make sure, oh yeah, I didn't prize the Artisan. I did check at the beginning of the game, but we're just saying, okay, yep, there it is. Between Dracloak and a research, we're gonna see 9 cards of 10 in our deck, so we're probably gonna win here. And we will be researching, but just to play super optimally, we're just thinking, okay, is there anything I can use? Yes, there is. I can use that Monkey Dory. If worse comes to worse, because we're going to hit a Luminous, and so we'll recon. Let's see 2 of the cards. Hey, we hit a Luminous from Monkey Dory. Just lets us, you know, uber prepare, and then we can research. And we see the Artisan. And that's the game. I think that, you know, obviously that was a bit of an easier match, but I think it goes to show just how important it is to really think about what your opponent can do. I think even though the deck was not very good, you saw me saying there, okay, what happens if neutralization zone? What happens if Lily's Clefairy? What happens if XYZ? Just a lot of different outs and how we could have lost the game. So I think in general, when you're facing a deck that you don't really know what they're doing, I think that's good practice just to say, okay, what could feasibly be in that list? So yeah, I think that's sort of all I wanted to really touch on. There were 3 games you could see. I know that we lost the first one to that unfortunate misplay on the very first turn of the game. Just sort of whiffing an energy, didn't have a great setup, and then we unfortunately had our only Dracloak taken out with energy. But yeah, I think that the big things to really pay attention to in playing Dragapult, knowing when to get aggro, knowing when to not get aggro, and really making sure to track your flow of energy so that throughout the game you're never whiffing an attack with one of your Dragapults, because I think that's one of the biggest ways in which you can lose. I think in that last game, especially, we didn't take aggro on that turn we could have. We chose to just develop our board a little bit more, get a Dracloak with some energy, set up that Genesect, and I think that was a good choice. Again, the deck wasn't the deck we were facing wasn't strong, but I think if it was some other rogue deck, I think that would have been a good choice as well. Um, so yeah, I hope that you learned something. Thank you for watching, and good luck in your battles.